we're all mortal, right? And there will be a day when, you're on your deathbed or whatever, and it'll all end one way or another. And you don't want to look back at that and, wish you had. So it's like, I heard a quote. It was like, that's what hell is. Hell is like being about to die and knowing like you should have done something and you didn't. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so I mean, do it, you know,
Do
be
it.
thoughtful, be
Yeah.
calculated, like plan, don't, like don't
Have a rock.
don't take uncalculated risk,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, if there's something you want to do, like what's the worst that happens?
Welcome to Extraordinary Stories. I'm your host, Forbes Shannon. With me today
is Christine Butler.
And our guest in studio today, he's in LA, but he made the time to come out here to Phoenix. Founder that's been around the block, giving back to other founders. So generous with his time. We were hanging out this week, and it was really awesome to see you get to talk to these younger entrepreneurs. But also, you know how to build ventures so well that you're here. You're new, coming to Arizona State to build a venture studio to help faculty build ventures around their innovations. The one and only Brandon Gerson.
Thanks, Forbes.
Thanks for being
Good
here,
to
man.
be here. Thank you both for having me. We had a great chat last night. Glad to bring it on air. So
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, how was Tech Week?
A whirlwind. And this was the inaugural Tech Week at Arizona Tech Week.
Yeah.
And, I've been to a handful of them. Being in LA Tech Week's been around for a few years now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's become its own phenomenon.
Yeah.
But it was awesome to have Arizona now like participate, and the energy's been awesome. Founders are building really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Investors are writing checks and rolling up their sleeves, adding value. And, the energy's been palpable. So it was cool. And connections have been really real. And, we made one last night and here we are.
For
Yeah.
sure. Well, we did make one last night. I nominated you, and we met last night.
Just last night.
Yeah, not even 24 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, boom,
Serendipitous.
we move fast.
Yeah.
It's startup. It's
That's how we work.
Let's go.
right?
Yeah.
Let's go.
And like after talking for 20 minutes, he's like, all right, now that we're bros, I'll tell you the real story.
So tell us, what's the real story?
No.
Are we gonna? Hold up. No, we can. Let's keep with the pints here
Within the boundaries.
But we did have a really good conversation about, not just being a founder, but also being, a husband, a father, and a person you have an awesome story. In New York is where it started.
Mm-hmm.
You and your spouse started a business together.
Correct. Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, it was a lot of work, right?
Mhm.
I mean, that's what it is to start a business together. My background has always been in sales, and my story started, way before I moved to New York. But with this endeavor, I was selling media. These were early SEO days and like inbound marketing kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Before they gamed the algorithm.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
And and so, I was selling like local search product and SEM, SEO, that kind of stuff. My wife she worked at big ad agency. She was like an account soup, like running those types of campaigns for big clients. We both had came up in entrepreneurial families, been entrepreneurs ourselves, and decided that we wanted to start our own agency. And this was like Mad Men days, that show on
I
AMC,
love
which
my
is like,
favorite show.
yeah. So, watching a lot of that, and I'm like, oh, I want to be Don Draper,
Who
So,
doesn't?
yeah. So we started our own shop. It kind of started burning the candles at both ends, where, we kind of had kept our day jobs a little bit, and, and we're moonlighting. And one thing led to another, started closing accounts and growing the business, and both went full time. And we found HubSpot, and like these were early days. This was like maybe 2010 or 11. So like before they IPO'd and all that. And we're early adopters, became a VAR, value added reseller. So like we were selling their product to our customers, getting them on the HubSpot SaaS platform, website, and then integrating with, all that. So really like full circle way that you do inbound marketing. And, we're able to have a ride on that. And that was kind of our first time building a business. And lots of experiences. We can unpack more on all that.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of our first soiree.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So starting a business is hard anyways, but you're doing it with your spouse. Explain the troubles and the tribulations in that and how you got over them.
Well, yeah, it's really hard to disconnect from, especially when you're an entrepreneur, and
Yeah.
to to find time to be, you know, a husband or a wife,
Mhm.
a spouse, not a business partner, and to like kind of, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's not something you turn on and off.
Right.
Mhm.
And so you just kind of have to navigate it, and you have a strong relationship, there's love, there's love for what you're building together, and it's just something that, it's hard. It was certainly not always easy, right?
Mhm.
And but
What did you do when you kind of hit those friction points where like your worlds were colliding, like home and work, and it felt like you couldn't escape one or the other or both?
Mhm.
take a walk.
Take a
Ooh.
walk.
Yeah, and together too.
Together.
Like we, I mean, get up off your butt, like out of the office, out of your desk, wherever, and like just get your blood flowing, feel the energy, a
Mm.
little sunlight. That was kind of always our thing. We're like,
Mm.
and sometimes sometimes you're like, I need to take a walk, and it's like not, and
Yeah.
then, and like, instead of biting your tongue, saying something that you're going to regret later,
Walk,
because
walk,
it's not
walk.
like, yeah, right. So
Let me leave before I regret this.
yeah, and we don't work together now, but I need to remember that more often. I feel like sometimes
Yeah.
I like, oh yeah, I should take a walk, and my wife
Mhm.
will tell me, she'd be like, go take a walk, and now we have two kids too into the dynamic, so that's like a whole
Uh-huh.
other
Right. And you're a
challenge.
boy or a girl dad, right?
Correct. Yeah, I have two
So how old
daughters.
are your daughters?
My older daughter Dahlia just turned 11 in March, and my younger daughter Remy will be 9 in May 2nd.
Wow.
Okay.
So you were the man of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I certainly am. And as my therapist reminds me sometimes, he's like, you live in a house with 3 emotional women. Like, this is what it is. And I'm like, you're right. Thank you, Joe. I need to remember that. Like, and now I actually like kind of wrote something on my wall that I like try to look at every once in a while to remind me.
Do you want to share what that is? You don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's some things that I try to remember on a daily basis that help me appreciate what I have, that help me,
Mhm.
like try to harness my chi, and
Yeah.
and just like some guidelines that, is like life is good. Like, don't let these
Mm.
kind of things stress you out. Try to focus on my wife more. That's something I'm working on.
Yeah.
Shout out to Michelle. I guess I named Dahlia and Remy. So yeah.
Shout out to
I get it.
Michelle.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, love you, babe.
That's so cool. Yeah, I'm a middle child out of 3 girls, so I totally get it. I sympathize for my father, so
Yeah.
I get it. Fun times though. Fun
Yeah.
times. Yeah. Okay. So your daughters, are you expecting them to be entrepreneurs?
Oh, good question.
They can be whatever they want to be.
Love it.
I think they observe their parents working hard, and especially my wife. My wife grinds real hard,
Mm.
and she's a boss in her own regard. And so they observe mommy working,
Mhm.
and she does marketing, and they say, "Oh, I'm going to be a marketer," and they actually, it was funny, they asked us like, what is marketing, the other day,
Yeah.
and like, the simplest way to put it so they understood was like helping sell products. So when we watch the Super Bowl and you see those commercials, and like they're trying to sell a car, like that's marketing, without
Mhm.
getting into the nuances, like
Yeah.
this is what
Mhm.
demand gen looks like and how you build a pipeline.
Yeah.
That's because that's more our forte. It's not like, it's digital marketing generally, but they can, I mean, yeah, I think they will find their way into some type of entrepreneurial activity. My daughter was like trying to sell bracelets, that she was making. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, go hustle, girl. Like,
Love that.
so
My dad was a consultant, and as a kid, I couldn't really understand it. Like I was like, so like, what's your value? Right? Like and then I like grew up and I like became a consultant. And I was like, oh, this is a funny
there you go.
full circle moment.
Yeah. So what's a consultant? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a guy who's gonna come in and just, it's funny. The way I would describe a consultant is the same way I describe a good like interview that I
Yeah.
have.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is I
Mhm.
don't know anything
Mhm.
about what you're expert in.
Yeah.
I just sometimes it feels like on extraordinary stories that my time spent with them may be the only time that week that someone actually listened
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It was a little more of a rhetorical question, but like, no,
but I'm ready to
no, I'm
go,
joking.
dude.
Yeah, there you go.
Ready to
Yeah,
go.
give your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, let me ask you this because, last night we had a good conversation. Like you are a very good listener. I was watching you listen to this entrepreneur. You said you're pitched out because I'm sure you just get pitched
yeah,
all
I
the
mean,
time.
it's all good. It comes
You
with the
know,
territory.
um,
I love it. So,
how does listening like play a role in your ecosystem that you're in, and where do you think it falls short, either with yourself or with other people?
well, unfortunately, I do a lot of listening like in my career, but I need to do more listening with my family. And like,
Oh.
maybe that's where it falls short. But it's, I mean, like it's active listening and
Mhm.
it's really like, paying attention and trying to pick
Mhm.
up on certain points that resonate and, asking the 7 whys, like trying to go deeper into things to
Yeah.
understand more of like what's
Mhm.
behind that kind of thing and digging in. And I mean, a lot of it when you talk about, looking at things from like a venture lens or like an investor lens, you need to there's some pattern recognition there and it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, these are things that I need to dig into to do like diligence, if you will,
Mhm.
Yeah.
to try to uncover like, how solid is this or,
Mhm.
like where's it soft and,
Yeah.
and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
And what do you think the ratio is between listening body language and listening like ears, like listening to what someone's saying?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's all important,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like demeanor and,
Right.
and tone of voice and,
Mhm.
and like eye contact and,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know, from like working with startups or evaluating startups, it's personal quality skills,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
understanding who they are as a human and
Yeah.
integrity and all that. So like
Yeah.
you can only do so much on Zoom, and that's why
Yeah.
Yeah.
when Forbes was like, "Yo, can you come into the studio like tomorrow?" I was like, I was looking at my like,
Yeah.
I had some
Mhm.
stuff, but I was like, can we do it on Zoom? And I was like, I thought about it. I'm like, no, you know what? Like, I'm here. Like,
Yeah.
let's do
This is
it.
the
Like,
goal.
let's
Yeah.
go. Like,
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So,
so
Yeah.
what's your I'm assuming, with all of your work at different accelerators, and coaching entrepreneurships and hearing pitches all the time,
yeah,
I'm going to extrapolate that I think your BS detector is probably very good.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how do you see that? Like what does it look like when you kind of just see like different red flags, or
Mhm.
like what are some tactics you use to really figure out if someone's legit?
yeah. So I try to practice radical candor sometimes, where like
What does that mean?
so give real feedback, tell what's really on your mind, don't sugarcoat it. Like you don't want to
Mhm.
come off as a jerk, right? But
Mhm.
like if you truly want to help them, which it's like I already heard the pitch, like, and I have feelings in my head,
Yeah.
like, can I articulate them in a way that, is going to be beneficial
Mhm.
for the founder, especially an entrepreneur?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's been instances where I'm like, you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't think this is going to work.
Mhm.
And I might encourage you to, really reconsider if you want to dedicate your time, energy, limited resources, to pursuing something that,
Mhm.
in my opinion, like, I could prove me wrong, like, and that's part of it too. You have to be a founder with a chip on your shoulder and like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, they're going to go back and then be like, fuck Brandon.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
I'll show him, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, yo, if that's cool and I can,
If I can motivate you that way,
yeah,
then I did it,
yeah,
right?
but,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like and again, and I
Mhm.
always say this, when I'm like judging a pitch competition or whatever, like, "Look, I'll give you my opinion, and,
Mhm.
like, I'm not I don't have a monopoly on, like, being right all the time,
Yeah.
like, I very well could be wrong, this is just my thought,
Right.
and so,
Mhm.
like, I will at least leave you with my candid opinion on what you're doing
Mhm.
Mhm.
and, do with it what you will.
I'm working on that skill set personally. I've gotten to the point now where I'm willing to speak up, but I'm not. I'm not fluent in like being able to like like for example, like I was at breakfast the other day and this omelet just sucked. And I couldn't tell you why it sucked, you know? And I told the waiter, I was like, "Hey man, like I don't want this. Take this away." And he's like, "What's wrong with it?" And I was like, "This omelet blows." You know? And he laughed. He's like, "Okay, I get it." I was like, "I don't know how to be more." It's like how do you explain it? It's like critical feedback. It's like almost a taste thing. And you're just like you kind of know it and you don't when you don't,
Yeah.
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Like so how do you articulate it when you're just like, I don't know why, but this is probably not going to work? And you, like, how do you convey that without, being overly,
Without being an asshole.
without saying this
Yeah.
omelet blows? Yeah.
Yeah.
know?
I don't know if I have, I mean, like, it's just like trying to be tactful and thinking about it. And like, it helps if you have a good vocabulary, I guess. And,
Mhm.
and like, if you're,
Right, right,
if you're a
right.
salesperson and you're accustomed to thinking on your feet and like, trying to get your point across and make it, sometimes you want people to think like my idea is your idea,
Yeah.
like, and so I don't know, like maybe it's just time and seat and practice and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
How does that skill set show up at home?
I need to improve on that. You're recognizing a theme. I mean, yeah, it's tough because when you have young daughters,
Mhm.
who are immature, their brains aren't developed, they don't know how
Mhm.
to, they're testing boundaries, they're figuring things out themselves. Like,
Mhm.
it's hard to not be impulsive and
Mhm.
try to just like, you
What
know,
the?
yeah, and it happens, but yeah, it's thank you for reminding me. I need to, like it's something I'm actively working on.
Gotcha. So when people are pitching to you,
Yeah.
what's your green flag like that you're looking for? The thing that you value the most in a
Great
pitch?
question.
Yeah. So founder, like, I mean, this it's cliche, right? But like, you're ultimately you're going to be investing in somebody who is like a strong person or ideally team, but actually I'm now like, with the advent of AI and how
Right.
useful it is and all that, like, I was telling this
Mhm.
founder that we were talking with last night,
Yeah.
like he build more with AI. Like you don't, like
Yeah.
and not like maybe critical stuff. You might need to, find a really brilliant engineer or whatever.
Mhm.
But like if it's, you know, marketing stuff or you're testing stuff like, have use agents and so be like as scrappy as possible, as capital efficient as possible.
Mhm.
Like I want to see those characteristics
Yeah.
where like and you're like the type of person who can be resilient and like and like figure it out and just like continue to make momentum
Mhm.
like as an individual and it's character and then again like is the product or what they're building like is it useful like I mean
Mhm.
do you see that
Mm, I
like
see. Yeah.
I think about the term product market fit, right? So like, does this product have a fit in the market where,
Right.
where like people are ultimately, it's about making money, right? So like,
Mhm.
Mhm.
is this something that you're building that you see that people are certainly going to want to pay for?
Yeah.
Like you're not just building something on a whim kind of like have you
Mhm.
done your customer discovery and like do you
Mhm.
understand what you're building for and do you have a path to product market fit like
Mhm.
both from like a product roadmap, like how do you need to continue to evolve and
Mhm.
improve the actual attributes of what you're building? And then additionally, uh, you know, do you understand like your customer mindset for who you're, like think about your ICP and your ideal customer profile and like how how are those folks gonna, need and demand what you're
Yeah.
paying, and then how do you reach them? So like you want to think about.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're talking about being realistic. And so
Okay.
how much do you bank like realism versus like a vision?
So this is where I think of like I have a buddy and he uses the term kites and rocks, and this is where actually if you have like this is where co-founders are valuable because
I've
you
heard
have
about this in relationships, right?
yeah
Yeah.
too yeah
Mhm.
so You think of, you have your kite that's like that's the vision and it's like just
Mm,
out, like, with the wind, like, checking stuff out, but you need the rock that like keeps it grounded,
Mhm.
So like you have to strike that balance and it's tough to have one person like, I'm in my wife and I's relationship, like I'm more the kite and she's the rock and like,
Mm.
and but um, it's something that you just need to contemplate because also that's like innovation happens on the edges, like you can't
Mhm.
focus on consensus, like
mhm.
that's not
Love
going
that.
to get you there. So, I mean, you need to strike the balance, right? And majority of startups fail because I mean, it's really hard,
Mhm.
but that's kind of what you want to try to suss out.
Now, what holds precedence? The human or the product when they're pitching?
I mean, I would always say, I guess I would favor the human, right? Because
Mhm.
like the product will eventually, go through its pivots, and like
Mm.
as you listen to the market, listening to your customers, that's very important.
Mhm.
So, again, you don't want to be a hammer looking for a nail. Like,
Yeah.
you want to actually let what the market, who you're again, like your ICP, like uh, what are they informing,
Mhm.
and then your product will have to evolve or your business will have to evolve. And, it's also important to test in those early stages too. You like want to, got to figure it out. Like how do I get product market fit? That's kind of like when you're in the early stages, that's what you're focusing on.
So what about in those cases where a product is brilliant, but the person is just not marketable? Like, and they are not the person to, you
Well,
know.
I mean, it depends on what life stage they're at within their business. I mean, like, is there a board whose job is to replace that CEO? I mean, like in
Mhm.
the early stages, that might not be all like in place.
Mhm.
I mean, it depends on that's a problem,
Yeah. Mhm.
and not to get into like the venture studio that we can talk a little bit more about, but that's one of the things that we're looking to aid in is making sure that it's the right people driving forward.
Yeah, because in my experience, some of the brilliant like scientists and engineers that come up with these solutions are not the person to have on stage,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You know?
bingo.
Yeah. um, I'm curious. We were talking about, you being the kite. Um, so what is the future vision for you?
Whoa.
Where's the kite going?
I mean, I my family is my priority, so
Mhm.
like I want to have my kin, my daughters, like
Mhm.
be successful, good people in life. And I want, my wife and I to be able to go, live on the beach in Nicaragua like and
Yeah.
just chill and,
Mhm.
and eventually get to that type of, like
Mhm.
fun
Mhm.
lifestyle. I mean, we still have a pretty fun lifestyle, but, I mean, like it's making sure that, and I'd also like to have a legacy,
Mhm.
make the world a better place than you found it kind of thing.
Mhm. Have you
But
thought much on the legacy?
yeah, I'm working on it.
Yeah? What are you
Yeah.
working with?
I mean, I want to make my mark. I don't know, like now this opportunity with ASU, which is like such a huge juggernaut of a like
Yeah.
it's a force and it's just like massive.
Number
And so
1 in
like,
innovation,
oh
baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. Shout out. Shout out. I mean, I see with this venture studio program that we're building to actually take innovation that professors and faculty are developing within the labs, which is like, there's like, I mean, there's folks trying to like, cure cancer,
Right.
and like do like
Yeah.
really huge shit.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And, you know, the venture studio model, takes that IP and then will pair them with subject matter experts or, proven professionals who
Mhm.
have scaled businesses within their industry,
Mhm.
um, and and who want to get back into like early stage stuff and finding the
Mhm.
right folks and
Yeah.
doing the right type of matching and then allowing providing different resources which the university has plenty to like actually help them commercialize, scale, grow, exit. And so if that can become a replicable model that we can do with like multiple businesses and
Mhm.
like if they're able to do things like curing cancer, or,
Mhm.
or like building products that are going to go on rockets, or, like
Yeah.
go build infrastructure on the moon, like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
like, and to be a part of that, or somebody who can actually lead,
Mhm.
the building of that type of like infrastructure, and something that becomes like a factory within a university, like
Yeah.
that would be pretty sick. So
So, it would be a tremendous feat for so many people to build and exit one company like you and your wife did, right?
yeah,
You know, um, you're talking about building a model where you're just cranking out hits,
yeah.
Where does that delusion come from?
That's
Uh,
so funny. I was gonna use that word delusion.
Like that
yeah,
radical
You're
optimism.
I
I don't
guess.
know.
delusionally audacious,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
guess, that's a kite without a rock. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, I mean, like some people are just born to be kind of entrepreneurs, and
Mhm.
and you see something and you get kind of fixated on it. And
Mhm.
it's like, you shoot for the stars, you're not going to end up in the mud,
Yeah, right.
so, uh, maybe it is delusional, but, it's like, what's the worst that happens? You fail. It's like, all right,
Exactly.
whatever. Like, next.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't trying to call it delusional. I was
No,
saying
no, no.
it takes a delusional mindset
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
just be
Yes,
No, it's
like,
all good.
yes.
No,
let me just
I feel
crank
you. I
out,
feel you.
jackpot after jackpot after
Yeah, I
jackpot,
mean,
right?
like,
Yeah.
look, I don't think that'll be your hit rate, like, but if you're batting, it doesn't take a lot. Like, if depending on what like lens you're looking at it, if you're looking at it from like a financial return lens, you
Mhm.
have your outsized returns. And so
Mhm.
like that's where, if you're doing portfolio construction in terms of like from an investment strategy, it's like you want, a very small percentage of your portfolio, or of the companies that you're investing in, you know, a very small fraction of the winners will ideally, return the whole fund
Yeah.
on X multiples.
You only have to be right once, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Mhm.
and that's the way that the cookie crumbles too.
Yeah.
It's like you're right. Hopefully, like if you're good.
What's the risk taking like in your personal life?
I mean, we live a little bit of an unconventional lifestyle, where
Oh, yeah?
we've been a little nomadic on some stuff, and, and
Cool.
like traveled around, and, you know, n- try to just like YOLO it a little bit,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and so, I mean, like if it's like a smart calculated decision, you can, it's like take it. I don't know.
Mm.
What's the wildest dream that you have with your wife?
Uh like
Like
something to do together.
backpack across,
Yeah, I mean, we've traveled pretty extensively, and with our kids. That's a good question. We've actually just recently, we need to kind of figure out our new 5 to 10 year plan,
Yeah.
because like
Mhm.
we kind of, we've had plans, and now we're just kind of, we need to get regrounded in that. So there's a non-answer for you, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, there's
Mhm.
so much fun in the unknown, right?
yeah,
Like not knowing, but also having an idea of what you want to do, right? So you and your wife, you've done it all in the business world, right? I mean,
a
you
little bit.
have all kinds of stuff that you have planned, right? Maybe not sure on it. Now, your kids, you still got a couple of years until they're gone and you're empty nesters.
Yeah,
Do you have a vision of what that looks like empty nested? Like, is that
yeah.
on a
I mean,
beach?
yeah, we joke about, like, let's grind hard. We got, like,
Yeah.
10 more years
Yeah.
till Remy's,
Mhm.
kind of, I guess, I don't know if university's going to be as relevant in 10 years or
Right.
whatever, but whatever, like that future, she'll be 18, kind of like, all right, go
Yeah.
figure it out, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, we joke about, like, we want to go gallivant, and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
hopefully have enough paper in the bank where it's like, all
Mhm.
right, cool. Like,
Mhm.
go. Because we've done some backpacking. Like
Yeah.
we hiked the Inca Trail and did like the Machu
Very
Picchu
cool.
thing. We've
Very
traveled.
cool.
We actually have we have property in Nicaragua, and kind of like a little hotel thing that we're
Oh,
involved in down
cool.
there. So
Okay.
yeah, so we spent a lot of time in Latin America.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very cool. Hey, so I'm curious what you are curious about.
I'm curious what you are curious about. Me being curious about. I I mean, what is the future like? I don't know if curious is. I'm I'm concerned a little bit about like what the future holds. Sorry,
Yeah. No,
no, get
explain.
like deep. I mean, so just kind of keeping within like, the AI technology
Yeah.
kind of thread. I do think that we're going to have some challenges with our workforce in the United States in regards to AI is going to be replacing folks. Like it'll certainly make your power users way more capable and like exponentially better. But a lot of people who like aren't, it's just not in their skill set, or maybe they just, they're not going to figure out how to, like, a lot of middle management kind of
Mhm.
folks, and and also like young, like, fresh out of school folks who haven't like got with it. There's going to be a lot of like job displacement, I feel.
And what do you think that impact will be?
um I hope not socialism, but
Mm. Mhm.
um like uh we'll see. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are, like,
Relying on the government.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
like, and pissed, and and like, blaming technology. I mean, you see,
Yeah.
like our
I see people blaming it already.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Yeah.
we're super polarized, and so, you
Yeah.
know, like, I I I I I think embracing it and recognizing what's coming and not like
Yeah.
trying to slow it down, like, that's the wrong move.
Mhm.
And so I'm just, this is you asked me what I'm curious about, and like,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
guess this isn't curious so much, but it's more like,
Yeah, no.
think like deeper thinking kind of stuff. That's something that it's like, where are we going to be in, 5 years, as all this is inevitable, but
Mhm.
Mhm.
how's it going to impact the broader workforce and a lot of people who,
Yeah.
I think where people are really missing the boat, like, I mean, Christina and I are both writers,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so, like, ChatGPT comes out, and it's like the first thing is it's like, okay, writers are going to be out of work,
Yeah.
and all of our writer friends are like, well, I'll never use AI at any part of the process, and it's like that's the dumbest thing I've ever
yeah,
heard,
Yeah.
really,
dude.
Why
Like,
resist it?
you don't use it to replace the art, but you use it to get perspective on the art, so that when you show it to someone for the first time, they're like, wow, you thought of everything.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like, it's a pattern machine.
yeah,
And the cool thing is I don't feel competition as a writer. I'm excited that so many people are now going to have the gift of writing, because it can write for you,
yeah,
and writing has been so hard for so many people. It's real easy to pick up the phone or to turn on ChatGPT voice mode
yeah,
and explain what happened.
yeah,
But so many people lack that skill of being able to write out, and I think it's cool that that's going to be something that gives to the masses, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. I also feel like if you're a good writer and
I want the M
you
dash back though.
yeah,
Yes, can we get the MBAT
Like,
dash?
we use that as humans,
yeah,
like the long dash.
yeah,
Now we can't use it.
yeah,
Because everyone
bummer.
thinks it's
'Cause now
AI.
everyone thinks we're
Yeah. No, but you can't replicate a human writing, right?
Yeah,
You use it to structure and to go faster in your writing, maybe structure it a little better, but you can never replace a human being's writing. Jane
yeah,
Austen, I mean, like all
yeah,
these books, like
yeah.
you
yeah.
can't replicate
No,
that
I feel you, but it is something to think about.
for
Like,
sure.
there was like this, I don't know, competition, or like a survey or whatever, that was like two really like philosophical things were written. I don't know if it was in the New York Times, or um I listened to TBPN, like the
Okay.
podcast, and
Yeah.
they were talking about it. And it was like, you know, they asked a bunch of people to pick like
Which one was
which one was
human?
which, yeah, like
Really?
which one was human, which one was AI, and then like also which one was like better and which one
Yeah.
was worse.
Oh,
And the
man.
AI kind of won.
Yeah.
So, I mean, well, time will tell, but
It still can't do jokes, so,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, yeah.
Yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Nah, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean just because like the AI is good at, like
Mhm.
writing or even jokes maybe or whatever, like that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that a human can't be good at it too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so it's
Mhm.
also, it's about, you just need to continue to use that like muscle,
Exactly.
And this is where it gets a little, I don't know, like concerning, where like, I, I need my like maps app to
Same.
like figure out how to get places, where like when I was even, when I first started driving,
Remember
like
MapQuest,
16.
dude?
Yes.
Or before even
You'd have to
MapQuest?
print
Yeah.
it out and
Yeah.
then like
Like when you knew where north was?
Yeah. I mean, like, and so now, it's like people are not knowing that so much, and like you think about the native generation, like kids that, like my
Mhm.
kids, they're not going to know, like,
Yeah.
like, I mean,
Mhm.
I hope they will, but you see this a little bit in writing too, where it's
Mhm.
like, maybe your penmanship isn't as good because
Yeah,
you're
they're not even
only
teaching
text- you're
cursive
texting.
anymore.
They're
I don't
not.
think.
They're
Yeah.
not.
My daughters actually are learning cursive, and
Oh, they are?
to be honest, I was like, "This is dumb. You don't need cursive." Like,
Yeah.
but that's anyway.
I've heard the conspiracy
Sorry
of
to
that is
sorry
the
about
But how are
that.
we
conspiracy
going
of
to
that
get
is,
signatures?
Sorry, yeah,
well, that's the conspiracy of
Dude,
that is they're not teaching it so that you can't read the
yeah.
Constitution.
Yeah, there you
Ah,
go.
Yeah.
You don't need signatures. It's all biometric. You just like look at the thing, and it's
your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Like,
your eye.
fingerprint.
It's
where
like
you're
Minority Report. Yeah.
Here we come.
Hey, we ask everybody that comes on the podcast this question. If there was one piece of advice that you could give to our listeners of how they could live more extraordinarily today, what would it be?
That's a good question. I think just kind of follow your dreams a little bit. I
Mhm.
mean, if you want to live extraordinarily, like, and also put in the work. I mean, it's not easy.
Mhm.
But if you have something that you want to achieve, like, like work at it, go,
Mm.
like, because we're all mortal, right? And there will be a day when, you're on your deathbed or whatever, and, and it'll all end one way or another. And you don't want to look back at that and, wish you had. So it's like, I heard a quote. It was like, that's what hell is. Hell is like being about to die and knowing like you should have done something and you didn't. So,
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, do it, you know,
Do
be
it.
thoughtful, be
Yeah.
calculated, like plan. Don't, like,
Have a rock.
don't take
Mhm.
uncalculated risk,
Yeah.
but, like, yeah, if there's something you want to do, like, what's the worst that happens? I mean, you have to think about that. Like, don't be
really-
don't be really
Yeah,
dumb.
Brandon
but,
is
like,
putting an asterisk. He is not just saying.
yeah, right. Like, I am not a doctor.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
You can read more about Brandon Gerson at joinextraordinary.com. That's JOINEXTRAORDINARY.com. And at Join Extraordinary on all of our socials. I'm Forbes Shannon.
I'm Christine Butler.
Brandon Gerson, nice to be here.
Oh, thanks, man. That was
Yeah,
fun.
for sure.